Good evening. Good evening. Happy Monday. And welcome to Manic Mondays with Miss K on Attorney Vincent Davis's platform, where parents are allowed to tell their maniacal story and their corruption within CPS. We are here every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. And before I get started and introduce my reoccurring guest, Miss Michelle, mom and parent warrior, we have a new guest that has some valuable information to drop on us today as being a person that was on the forefront, directly involved with CPS and their corruption. So, as usual, I like to take a moment of silence for all our brothers and sisters who are no longer here, those that still keep coming back, and those that are still sick and suffering. So again, good evening. I'm your host, Miss K, with Manic Mondays with Miss K on Attorney Vincent Davis's platform. And again, I'd like to introduce my reoccurring guest, parent warrior and mom, Miss Michelle. And today we have a new guest that is definitely directly involved. And her name is Miss Sunshine. And she was a worker for CPS who was violated based on her being empathetic and human to parents within the CPS structure. So if you want to tell us a little bit about your case, that way you can get our viewers up to speed, just basically where you are right now as far as, you know, why you decided to be a guest and pass your message, and just to tell us a little bit about, your background that led up to this.
Okay. Sorry, I'm nervous. I've never done
That's
anything
all right.
before.
It's human.
So I guess I'll start with I'm 34, and I was in the foster care system when I was 15 to 17. That was in Tennessee. I went to 5 different high schools, and then my last placement, I was able to earn my diploma, my high school diploma. From there, I moved to Illinois, and I put myself in college. I had a rough start, and I actually went to 3 different colleges before getting my bachelor's of social work. I lived in Colorado for a year after I graduated with my baby and his dad. And I got cabin fever in very small town in Colorado. So I moved to Pensacola. My first social work job was at the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. And I wanted to do something that put me more on the front lines of working with families and kids. So from there, I went to Families First Network, which
So can I,
is...
not to interrupt you, I'm sorry, Miss Sunshine, not to interrupt you. I just had a couple of questions that kind of like follow that guideline. So, Shell is great with this because she did our outline, so we got to give her her flowers. And she did all the background questions. So she has like a general consensus of what, we wanted our viewers to get. So although, everything you said was definitely important and leading up to that, but one of the questions that she would like to know is what experiences or personal and professional have shaped your perspective on how CPS operates based on you being a child of the system.
Okay. So when I was saying about I just wanted to give a brief,
Right. That's why I said I wanted to.
history. So Families First Network is an agency that is a sister agency to DCF. So DCF would go in, do the removal, and then if you are required to do or court ordered, essentially, to do things in order to reunify, and then you get transferred to another caseworker within that agency who is supposed to do the home visits with the children, visitations, referrals, be the main person for mom, dad, child. And then, write reports, memorandums, and things like that to the court. So from there, I left. That would be probably what leads me to answer that question. I left FFN due to some of those, morale concerns, and having to set aside your integrity, or when I witnessed prejudiceness with, my specific case of family at the time.
Can I'm sorry, not to, again, don't want to interrupt you because you're on a roll. I
Okay.
just, I want to make sure that our listeners know that, although you may be even a victim of the system, you
Mhm.
are also on the other side seeing the corruption within. And because
Yeah.
you are empathetic and human, this is something that, that you could not see just go past. So we want
Mhm.
families to know that there are workers out there. There are some good ones, so everybody
Yes.
is not bad. So we just want to make
Thank
sure that
you.
we have that separation.
Thank you. And that's why I wanted to point out the difference between DCF and FFN,
Right.
because I was not a CPI, which is the Child Protective Investigator. I never worked under DCF specifically. I did interview and was offered a job on 2 separate occasions with them, but again, I working at FFN and experiencing the obstruction. I witnessed obstruction for parents being able to, really move things along, or I feel like in that position and in that job, I loved it. I got along with a lot of my parents and the kids.
Bless you.
Um,
Yeah.
and I just loved it, and I
So
loved being able to report good, positive feedback about what the parents were accomplishing, and being able to give my professional opinion, or I don't like to say opinion because,
statements, your
yeah,
professional statements.
correct.
And
Yes,
for our listeners
yes.
also, this channel and this podcast is for educational purposes only. This is not legal advice. And if you'd like legal advice, reach out to the law offices of Attorney Vincent Davis. The number is on the bottom. You can reach out to Grace or myself. I apologize again, Miss Sunshine. I just wanted to
Okay.
ask this question.
Sure.
Where do you believe the biggest gaps between policy and practice appear?
I would say, so the year that from 2024 to now, the job that I will be talking about here soon, that is where I witnessed a lot of the caseworkers, because now I was working within the law office of
Okay.
the appointed attorney to the parent. And it's a brand new program that, I believe should be implemented everywhere. I do believe that it's super beneficial if it's used correctly, without interference and obstruction and undermining all of my factual evidence as it pertained to the parent and advocating for the parent. Um, I had to witness sitting in the courtroom and not being able to say anything, and having my notes and everything entered into the system for the attorney. And I don't know where that bump was of bumping heads, where they did not want to relay that information for
Michelle
their
could
client.
firsthand identify with that. If she could definitely identify with what you just said. If you want to like piggyback up on that and just just confer basically what Miss Sunshine just said. Shall explain your experience.
Yes, it was this exact experience I had. It would be a multitude of different things from different people. It just depends on who I was speaking to. And it was never factual. that was presented with me. It was always opinions or hearsay or something like that.
And like the structural, like which structural, this is what I want to know. The structural oppressors, like the caseloads and the policy incentives, what mostly leads to those negative outcomes from either perspective, you or Miss Sunshine?
For me, I would think it's case overload and the push
The push as far as,
is the incentives, the demand to get things
so
took care
money,
of
basically, the
quickly and
money,
swiftly.
the
Yes.
money.
So if I could interject,
Sure.
there's no money in it.
I
At least
see.
I was on a salary pay, you know. This job that I had come from was I took a $2,000 pay cut actually to go to that job, leaving a career job in counseling where I should have stayed. But I would say so. The overload, absolutely. And I do believe it is about the training that they get prior and the
As
culture
far,
of
what kind, I'm
the
sorry, what kind of
environment.
training? Like what, for the
So,
job
okay,
itself or like sensitivity or, I'm
so,
sorry, but yeah.
okay, so in 2018, when I did training to become a certified child welfare case manager, we had training that we went to the university and actually trained in a classroom 5 days a week. And then we would shadow like the, seasoned caseworkers and things like that. But that was super beneficial. I was grateful to have really good trainers that really did talk about, compassion and empathy and rapport and, advocating and praising your client when, positively and talking about positive reinforcement and behavior modification and things like that to try to serve the family, with tools and skills and education and knowledge and all of that. But what I've
So,
seen since COVID,
right.
they do virtual PowerPoint training, and then that work
Do you think
culture.
do you think it's productive though?
No,
Do you think
no,
more
I
of an
think
interaction like face, like person to
yep,
person or
yes, absolutely. It really is about taking that person out in the field and seeing, you know, your interaction. And it really does, it matters about the caseworker being able to have respect and dignity for their clients.
so for
I
our
see so much of that like egotistical power trip, that
the
people
Napoleon
sometimes
complex.
get.
Yep.
And I'm
So
like,
for the listeners that are unaware,
frustrating.
what does CPS ideally function like when responding to a report? Like when the report comes in, have you been involved in those processes? Like when a report comes in, from the time it comes in up until the child is either removed or services are introduced or
Yes,
you know
yes. I,
um
I have I've had to do removals
so can
before.
you kind of like run our parents through the process, since you are definitely like a on the forefront directly engaged
Sure. So for example,
like that
this
stuff right
family
now?
that I was working with, this was an in-home judicial case because the caseworker before me, amazing caseworker as well, had really good rapport and relationship with this mom. And so whenever she moved over to another unit, um, me and the mom, it's just you have to treat people with dignity and respect. I put my pants on one leg at a time, and I think everybody does for the most part.
I would
So
hope so.
I just don't. I've just never been that type of person to have a nasty attitude, like when I'm first meeting a client, especially. But again, that's also, I feel like a skill that people need to come into sometimes, with confidence and self-esteem. I
So do
see a
you feel maybe
case.
sensitivity? Do you guys do a sensitivity training? or how to deal with emotions for both the parents and the children as a whole, or is it like a separate training? Like,
In
'cause if you're removing
2018,
a child, that must be a little
it was
heart wrenching and
terrible.
stressing.
It was the
So,
worst experience I've ever had. And I at that time I was working 2 jobs. So I had to go from the removal to Walmart with the child, and it was just a horrible incident. It was a horrible scene. I still see it like in my head. I can picture it, all of it.
so when you remove a child, ultimately,
That
when
was
you get a
for a
report, you
call
get the
coming
report,
in.
and then it goes. How does it
It goes
go?
to the hot. Okay, so whenever someone calls and is making a report, an abuse report, it goes to the hotline.
Right.
So I'm in Florida, and so it goes. If someone calls the 866 or it's 86 abuse. I don't know. I don't know what the three. I don't have to use it often, obviously. So they call the hotline, and then the person that answers that call, or that,
Is the person that responds?
if you do it online, the person that receives it is the one that is making that decision based on what they pull up in their database that they have, to
So
see if there's
a call is made,
a
a
call is
report
made.
goes in.
Hmm.
Whatever person picks up that phone is the person that responds to those allegations based on what their opinion, or because they
They're
can't say always the information, because there's sometimes information given that is
hmm
not important enough to certain people, and then
hmm
there's information not given that makes these people go out.
right.
So what deciphers a reason to actually investigate?
So they will pull up your like the record of whoever, if you have that information
So they
available
go
with
by history.
papers. So they'll pull up like your criminal background. They'll pull up if there's
So they
any prior
violate
abuse
your
report made.
personal well-being and go back to anything
Mhm.
that has happened previously to use that as
An
a
allegation
preponderance,
for
a
investigation.
preponderance of evidence
Guess what?
to
I've
go
been
check.
investigated. I had an abuse
And
report.
that's
And
where
it
I was
was
coming to.
nothing
That's where I
true.
was coming
I
to
had
that.
gotten into an accident with my son. I was on drugs. All
And
this
this is why I
stuff.
say, Shell,
I was a
a
caseworker
lot of workers
during this
have not
time.
been caught. During COVID, a lot of these workers that were doing things like this got caught out there. And I'm not saying that as far as your situation.
Yeah.
Everyone is human. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. And as you being a parent and a person directly front and center of this corruption within these agencies, as a parent, you were discriminated against.
Oh yeah.
You were
In
dragged through
the
the mud,
bathroom,
and you
in
also,
my job.
thank
They
you.
violated actually my confidentiality
And
rights.
that's where
They
I was going
came
with that
to
as
my
well.
place of employment, which was FFN, and they interrogated and questioned, interviewed my coworkers that I had only known for 6 months, maybe.
So they
And
get the opinions of others. You could say that, right? They come around and they
yeah,
get your neighbors'
yeah.
opinions, the people that are
Hmm.
around
And
you.
they drug
So they
tested
take
me in the
hearsay.
bathroom that I had drug tested parents. And I was like, this is weird. And then I thought I had to comply. I thought I did. And no one told me otherwise. But then my supervisor at the time pulled me aside and said, no, we called and they're totally in the wrong. Like they should be doing this.
So when
I
these workers
directed
ask
them
us for
to
urine
them.
samples and they have no court order,
I still
is that
provided it.
something
I was
similar? That's
scared.
something similar to what you experienced, right?
Yeah, I was
Where
scared.
they
So I
threaten us with
provided it.
urine tests, taking toxicologies, and they basically tell us as parents, if we don't, then it's a positive, and if we do, then they have a reason to continue to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that
It
was what
feels
I was
that
given.
way. It feels
Mhm.
that way. I don't know, the
But as a
logistics.
parent experiencing that, being a person that
It's
works
tough.
within this corruption,
I was
that
on leave for 3 weeks. I was crying my eyes out. Like I couldn't get out of bed for a week because I was
and they
like
didn't even remove your child.
petrified.
They didn't even
No,
remove your child.
I
This
sent
is
my
your job.
child to his dad's
Right.
out of state. I was like,
See?
screw that. They went to his school and all kinds of stuff. I was
And
so
see, and you
embarrassed.
are a worker within and
Yeah.
still were
Yeah.
treated
And they
unjust.
went to
So
my
nobody's safe.
son's
Nobody say
private school, you know,
it. Like, Shell, nobody say it.
I
Nope.
already feel singled out when I'm at his school because I've got tattoos. I'm a single mom.
Exactly.
The
So now when CPS comes
perks,
to your child's school, every time you come up there to drop him off, they're going to know that's the mom that has a case. That's the mom
yeah,
that the
but
worker. They
they
don't, they are
also have an
not very, very tactful, and they like to
yeah.
embarrass you. And see,
Well,
and with these
not
schools,
my
they say
son's
things like
school.
a courtesy that we call you, a courtesy. It is not a courtesy if you call me if somebody is questioning my child and I'm not present.
Well,
Your
they
job as
actually
an, they
they
don't
took
have to,
my son's school though. I just want to say from my experience, my son's school at the time he was napping because he was only maybe 4.
but are they
Um
allowed to do that? Are they allowed to go to your child's
yes,
school and the
I
school not notify
guess.
you, but not notify you?
The school did not know. I don't know if the school, I can't remember if the school
But are they
notified. This
allowed
was
to,
in
in your opinion, in your
2018.
professional opinion, are they
Uh,
allowed to question
They
your
go to
children
the
without?
school. They do go to the school, yes, and they are allowed to question without a parent
Okay. And
at
what
the
is the reason for
school.
that? Is there something written? And or is this like an
Um,
inter-office thing? Because
Maybe it's an inter-office thing. I'd have to like maybe look further into
thank you.
those policies within each state. But from personal experience of working with in the school system as well, I was a teacher and then I was a counselor in 2022 to 2024, and it was favorite job ever. Should not have left.
So can you say that many people use the
But
term
I was a
corruption, right?
counselor at a
Can you
school, and
like
I had to make a report.
right? So
And
listen,
so they came and
the term corruption is used where CPS fails a lot of the time.
yeah, so
What is
that would
it? What in the context? What does that mean? Or in the context that you're discussing right now, what is that? Why is there relevance to that? Like, can you express that to our parents that are listening?
so can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Okay. I said the term corruption is used by many people to
Mm-hmm.
describe the failures of CPS. What
Mm-hmm.
does it mean in the context that you're discussing?
So I guess I'd have to kind of share my story
And
as to
that's what I needed you to do.
current. Okay. So I was a parent advocate, again, working directly with the parent,
Shell, hold it down, okay? 2
appointed
seconds.
at the court.
Go ahead.
Oh, keep going. Okay.
Yeah.
And for a brand new program, anyways. So my job was to kind of smooth things over for the parent and the department, and kind of take the load off of the caseworker on being able to do referrals and being able to provide, the phone number, the address. I can call the provider and get things initiated and going. But due to reluctancy, obstruction, interference for an entire year of me trying to do my job and work and communicate with the partner agencies who are making the final decisions and reporting to the court, I tried everything I possibly could for an entire year on trying to work with them. I kissed a lot of ass. I went above and beyond more than I should have. And I was fired. I was fired because I reported to the chief inspector general 3 times about interference, obstruction, negligence, false reporting. I mean, all kinds of stuff that I had already been telling my leadership about all of the things going on that were wrong, that the caseworker was doing, the decisions that they were making, and building, all of this documentation, because that is going to be the only thing at the end of the day that is going to sway a courtroom. You have to have documentation. And I would always tell my clients, I will call and get it for you, because they sign a ROI with us. But those are the things that I could do. I mean, imagine if the caseworker is like, yeah, like, cool. Now I can go do my home visits. Now I can supervise that visitation because I don't have to do X, Y, and Z. Because do you know how many times their visits were canceled because the caseworker has too much going on, or they didn't plan correctly, or they forgot about the appointment, or they, so many things were going on. And it was like, they did it to themselves, the caseworker, making it harder for them, looking like an idiot at the end of the day, unfortunately. But
So would you say there are patterns of systemic issues rather than isolated ones, or would you say they're confined to one situation?
oh gosh, I've dipped my foot in each pot of social work. I was a foster kid, and then I did substance abuse counseling, and then I was a teacher and a mental health counseling at a school, and casework. And and now being on the law side of it, that is going to go. I mean, there's so many moving parts
So
with
what
that.
what what like what role?
You
Listen.
have to have a good lawyer who also isn't overworked and underpaid.
So what role do outside contractors like the courts or the private agencies? What role do they play in potential conflicts or
So,
conflicts of interest?
well, I've seen providers, kind of make a bias sort of recommendation or report, or,
As
you
far
know,
as what being on CPS's side or
just making,
siding with the parent?
providing negative feedback, maybe more so than what is needed or even necessary as it pertains to protective capacities and,
So would you
behavior
say that
change.
they defame these parents or slander these parents or have
I've
a
seen it.
false perception?
Not all of them. There are providers who really are amazing and they do have the best intentions. But again, it's underpaid, overworked, for the resources available to parents. But, again, something that I was doing for an entire year is I was networking with different people. I was, learning about new and upcoming agencies and resources and services that parents can participate, dads can participate in, all
And
of
that's
these free resources. I tried to provide this to them. I would provide it to the caseworker. I mostly would provide everything to the client.
So would
And
you say it's safe
have
to
the
say
reluctance.
that these caseworkers do not or I should say are frequently not receptive to anything that's supportive to the parent or that provides a sense of reunification
Yep.
in a
Yep.
timely fashion? So
Yeah.
you actually say they actually stonewall these parents and actually interfere?
Yes.
Because I went to
Over
court.
the
Speaking of
year,
that, I went to court today, and I will fill you guys in on the bias I experienced today. But my
over
attorney
this
is the
last
best.
year
So yeah,
is the time that I actually really witnessed it. The obstruction, the interference, the deliberately.
yes, they stopped
And
visits and everything.
I mean, just it was, trying to make mental health clinician decisions,
Yes,
things like that. But then they're not following up with the providers. And then
thank
I
you.
witnessed a caseworker get on the stand under oath. And when they asked her, why did she make a mental health evaluation assessment referral as it pertained to the allegations for removal, she couldn't give an answer.
And
You don't
see,
know why
this
you
is
did a
where
mental health
there's no
evaluation,
accountability. There's no accountability for things
which is
like
why
this.
that's why documentation is everything. I tell my people, hey, I'm going to remind you about your appointment. When you're leaving your appointment, make sure you get receipt of that appointment. Any recommendations that the provider is making, make sure you get it. You've got to be in control of your own paperwork.
So
If
can
you
I ask you
imagine it,
this?
I
Can I
was
ask,
I was that person, but I got fired for it.
so can I ask you this? As an educator, you said you played a part in education as a teacher.
Yep.
To
Yep.
your knowledge, when children are in school but they are placed in a foster care
A
with a
foster
foster
home.
parent or they're placed with in a group home
Mhm.
and the parent still has educational rights, can you like kind of explain what the do's or don'ts are when it comes to interacting regarding education? Because
So that's
now
in the
I'm a little confused about why I can have access to one child and not the other, and one child is in a brand new district with no ties to me, and because my perception was corrupted by the foster care agency, I've been restricted on educational needs, and my child is a special child.
Mm-hmm.
So how far can they go as far as interfering in your rights? Is it a school policy? Is it, because I know it's not constitutional.
So, from my experience and what I know about the education system here, from being an educator,
Florida.
I've got a substitute teaching certificate. It's good for 5 years. But the school paid for it. You know that when I started, they hired me as a teacher, even though I didn't have a teaching degree, but I have a social work degree and my resume and experience and all that. So they paid for it, which was amazing. And another reason why I should have left. But I'm
But
sorry,
are
with
they
the
allowed to?
educational rights,
Right.
yes. So you are. So unless it says like you have to have supervised visits or supervised contact, it really depends. Like, does it have to be supervised, the contact, like
Well, does
what
that consist of like information regarding your child? Like, nowadays they
right.
have these
You're
portals.
supposed to be able to have access to all
Thank you. And
educational
that's what I thought. That's what I
information. Yep.
thought. So when
But
a school
I've
violates
seen
that and you follow the proper channels and the things are still not being done, but yet your child
you got to get it in
is
writing.
missing. Yes. And that's what I'm saying. These things are being conveyed to the foster care agency, but not to me as the bio parent.
Right.
But you put my
Yeah.
child in a
I've
school
seen
that
that.
does not
Mhm.
accommodate all of her service.
Right.
So isn't that educational neglect in a sense? It's not adequate guardianship.
Yeah, yeah. Because one of my very first client for that job that I was fired from, um,
She's like, she loves
she
that
had
job.
she
Yeah.
had a child that has special needs, and with that school, they were trying to move him from his school where he was getting all of his needs
Thank
met
you.
with his diagnosis, with all of his, they're he's not a new kid there. They know him. They've got this schedule. He needs to be on his routine, especially that's a trigger for him. I mean, just the whole thing. And the caregiver, the only, battle we were going back and forth with was transportation to and from school.
Right.
Mom was willing to do it all, everything. And they
And
were
see,
making
that's
it
my thing.
absolutely impossible for her to be able to get her child to his ABA therapy appointment 3 days a week
But
because the
if that's
worker
what I'm saying,
wasn't
if they're
doing it
doing
and the
those things
worker
that
got chewed
are,
out by the judge.
but
But then
see, like I
I got
said, Miss
chewed out
Sunshine, if
too when
those
I tried to
things,
follow up on it as well. I got chewed
right,
out as well. I don't know what the problem. It's like ego, control, And I saw a lot of good caseworkers in the year, who actually were wanting to work with me, were grateful for my help. I just wanted to help. I wanted to work. That it was my job. That was my only job.
but is it safe to also say, based on the information given from your knowledge, does it infringe on your educational rights when you are conducive or giving them conducive information about your child that they may not have, that may assist with the struggles that this child is having with these special, you know,
Yeah, they should have that in his, like, they should get it from you. They're supposed, whenever removal happens and they get, transferred to you, and now you're going to be the one to help them reunify.
right.
You don't go in there immediately and start being a bitch. I mean,
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
And
Like,
that's
you have to work
exactly
with
what
this
it was.
person and these
Because
people for a
thank you.
whole year or more,
You cannot be biased
even
based on
if
what
they
somebody told
did
you.
some fucked up
Yes.
shit.
You
There
agree,
are
Rashad,
parents
right? You
who
agree.
have
You
that.
cannot be
Absolutely.
biased based on hearsay. Because if
Right.
we as parents
Dignity.
cannot use hearsay in the courtroom, but everybody else can except us, I really feel that right there is like the most unjust type of bias in the world. Because if you can listen to what everybody else says and use that against me when it's, not beneficial in my favor, but when it is, conducive, beneficial, productive, or
It's not
healthy, you
used.
thank you. You don't
And
go to
that,
these people that can assist with these healthy reunification efforts. You don't
mhm,
provide these services that are beneficial to these families with a toxic strain. And then you keep the separation going by being okay with statements like, I don't want to see my mom ever again, or things like that. As a social worker, a case planner, a manager, or whatever title you want to have, because most of y'all are not licensed, at the end of the day, you cannot bias me based on a jacket, or I should say my file, because I am not the parent that is outlined before you today. And this
And
is a
even if
totally
they
different
do,
allegation. This is a total different situation. And this is a totally different, whole setup where
Mhm.
there are no things that are conducive, just on my part. So
Right.
in your situation, like you're the worker on the outside looking in. As a
Mhm.
parent, you've experienced this. Shell, as a parent, she's experienced this literally on this show because she told the truth. So now, I'm gonna let you continue because we're probably gonna have to bring you back for a part two because you got a lot of
Yeah.
stuff that you gotta let us know.
I
But
do.
and I got a checklist of questions, but I know like we're down like almost 40 minutes. And that was some great information. And I didn't mean to cut you off, and I know you
Okay.
have a lot to say, and we will definitely get to it. But
Mhm.
I do want to be kind of a little bit selfish because I
Mhm.
did go to court today for permanency.
Yeah, go
And the
for it.
way I was portrayed was that I was a psycho that was so unstable that my children feel unsafe. I was penalized for bringing snacks to my child's school. I had no contact with my child. They lied about that and said I was telling the staff at my 10-year-old school to bring her downstairs, to the point where the things that I was asked to bring, because my court order says if I'm invited, I was asked to bring these things by my child's teacher via email. And because my child got upset because whoever is in her ear about disrespectful things said about me should be ashamed of themselves. And I hope they're watching. You should be ashamed of yourself because at the end of the day, everybody eats my cooking. So for my child to say that I would poison other children, I would never allow my child to say that about anybody's parent, child, or anything else. So for my 10-year-old to say that about me, and I was a cook in that kitchen at that school for over a year, I was a school foods employee. I have a food handler's license. I cook for the people in my neighborhood. We just had two functions just recently. I am Miss KK of Jordan's Jungle Gym. And for my 10-year-old to be able to express something like that, knowing the type of person I am, I know it's nothing but brainwashing going on. So as a parent that suffers with mental illness, that has a substance abuse history, because I'm never embarrassed. Anything that is a downfall for me, I use as motivation to make myself better, to show my children. People talk about you, whether you're doing something good or something bad. It just means that you're important enough to be talked about. So
Mm-hmm.
if my children are watching, as always, all we have is each other. You are your sister's keeper, and you guys are amazing. And even though you are upset with me right now, I will explain to you what really happened and we'll work from there. But I'll take the anger because you guys are entitled to it. And I still love you. Infinity plus. So I know, like I tell everybody all the time, we as parents, we are human. We are not perfect. We are overwhelmed. We are dragged around, pushed, beaten, bruised, and battered. But our innocence never allows us to stop fighting. Innocence is worth it every time, every drop of sweat, every blood, every tear we cry, every breath we take. Innocence is the one thing that is perfect and precious in this lifetime. And I will protect it until I lose my last breath. Just like Michelle said, our parent warrior, she has been dragged through the mud, just lost her rights to her children in 34 days or 39 days?
37.
37 days. These people took her motivation and innocence from her life because her voice told the truth. Because her voice told the truth, parents. Pass your message. Do not allow this corruption to continue. Do not allow them to bias us based on history, DV, drug abuse, mental health, or overall trauma in our childhood or upbringing. Every culture is different. Every ethnicity is different. Every upbringing is different. There are never any unhealthy ways to parent. I'm sorry. There are no bad ways to parent. There are only unsafe and unhealthy ways to parent. Y'all parents have to stand up. One voice changes lives. We lost a lot of people, parents and children, to suicide based on CPS tearing these families apart for money. They kidnap our children, they traffic them like cargo, and then sell them off to the highest bidder. This is like modern day slavery. Negrophobia, drapetomania, everything is still price tagged. It has nothing to do with color except that almighty green. And even Miss Sunshine's case, she was employed with these corrupt ass people, received compensation to try to get her on board with this human trafficking. And because she is a mom, first and foremost, because anything else is optional, because she is human, because she is empathetic, and because she has values, she was terminated for caring. Took everything that she needed to maintain life with her innocence and put her in a place where she has to depend on a system that was designed to fail us from the very beginning. You cannot tell me this is not the definition of insanity. This legislation has been doing this same merry-go-round of corrupting innocent lives, tearing families apart, just selling children off to the highest bidder and just keeping them estranged from the one thing that they know is familiar, and that is family. Anywhere that family comes in, CPS is biased. Once you give a resource, the first thing they do is name all the things that they've done 20, 30 years ago, which has nothing to do with the situation at hand. First thing they do is make sure they get gossip about how many fights you've had with your siblings and your parents, because that's pertinent to a child's placement of familiarity and comfortability. That's in the best interest of the child. You separate the child from everything they know, the community that they've been in, because it takes a village. But this is productive. This is wellness. This is out of the best interest of the child. Sadly mistaken. These people could have killed my children on more than one occasion. And now that permanency has started, I can say that. I had an hour for court today. In 51 minutes, these people made me look like a psychopathic drug addict until my lawyer actually did her job like she always does, because she's a firecracker. But this is the links that we have to go through. I was defamed because I brought snacks to my child's school. And then lies were surrounded in that situation by my ex-husband and his attorney. But yet the order of protection that he has against my children have against him and myself, because he initiated the case with DV and child endangerment, he has no foot to stand on, because these people don't even know if my child and allegedly his child belongs to him. There was no parentage established. You gave this person all this access and they were evading the law on a murder charge. You cannot tell me this system is not flawed. You give the abuser everything and take everything that motivates us as parents to stay structured, sober, sane and healthy in this life, because they're quick to say, based on me being bipolar or because I suffer with another mental illness, I am not mentally capable of providing adequate guardianship or supervision. But yet I am the authorized legal guardian to make decisions on my children's education, medical needs, therapeutic needs, religious needs, and financial needs. So either way, this system that is trying to separate me from my children is wrong. Either way. Because if I am impaired and unfit and I make decisions, that makes y'all negligent. Y'all are providing inadequate guardianship. And if I am making these decisions in their best interest, then y'all are still wrong, because that's defamation, slander, custodial interference, and ultimate bias of my civil rights, my parental rights, my educational rights. Period. I am sick of a system that is designed to fail us from the very beginning, have the option and the right to justify what is safe, what is healthy, and what is in the best interest of the child when they don't even know half the information they need to know about the child. But they bias the parent because they're labeled, because society stigmatizes us based on stereotypes, based on a corrupted ass system. And it's a bunch of bullshit. That's what it is. It's trash in a nutshell. Because again, although Miss Sunshine is no longer employed with these people, she was on the forefront. Shell was biased against because she spoke up. I am biased against, and I have a whole law degree. Can't even practice because this case says I'm mentally impaired. If that is not insanity at its finest, I don't know what else to say. And then they wonder why these parents get aggressive, assertive. This is not combativeness. This is passion. Y'all are stealing our children. Y'all will not continue to do this. We must organize as parents, stand united, and stand firm. Michelle is good at that. Reach out to her. Reach out to the law offices of Attorney Vincent Davis if you have a CPS issue. And I know, Miss Sunshine, you were supposed to say a whole lot more, but we're going to bring you back next week if you're available, and that would be great. If you could honor us with your presence again, that would be great. But because I had court today, I had to throw that in there because I never pout and do the oh woe is me, and I'm not going to do it now. But although these people try to portray me as a unstable, demented drug addict, nobody had any answers for the things that they did not have. And I'm going to say this so the world will know how negligent HeartShare St. Vincent Services foster care agency in New York City is. My children do not have medicals in school, and it's almost June. Well, I should say almost January. They have no medicals on file. My children have allergies. They have no allergy files. They have no allergy medicine. And if they do, that's a violation. I am the only one that can make those decisions. My children have no 504s but receive their psychotropic medication. My 12-year-old school, during the IEP meeting, told me that my child often comes to school unmedicated. Nobody's documenting this. But these people still have their pensions for now. I don't get on here and talk tough. I write very well. I come from an educator. My mother's a doctor of education. So why would you think I'd be anything less? Just because I had a substance abuse issue, I have my reasons for those things. That has nothing to do with the way I parent. Because I am labeled with mental illness does not make me impaired to the point where I will put my children in unsafe situations. Life happens. Life be lifing. I cannot control everything if I am the sole provider, sole caretaker, and sole parent up until August 13th of 22 when I allowed their stepfather and alleged father to infiltrate my foundation, which he destroyed in 39 days. So we're not going to go there because I'm not that type of person. But if I start breaking bones on the skeleton, you would definitely need casting. Now, I know I just got a little emotional, but I had to get that out. And I'm appreciative that, I have those parent warriors in my corner, such as Shell, such as Miss Sunshine, Miss Betty, Miss Dorothy, Niqua, Kim, Sharice, Danita. Y'all are there. My family, thank God I was able to get that back so I can be the parent that I am going to be. They do not get to take our innocence because of something someone said. Because if we said what we wanted to say, a lot of y'all would be unemployed. A lot of y'all would be one paycheck away from being homeless yourselves. A lot of y'all would be behind us in line doing the things that you should have been doing. So again, HeartShare St. Vincent Services in Brooklyn, New York, has violated my civil rights, my parental rights, my educational rights, and my every right, every right, and they are totally wrong. Oh my gosh, did I go off? Did I go off? Can't see me? Did I go off? Oh, I lost it.
There you are.
Am I back? Okay. Sorry, I got emotional and I hit the button. But why do I look like that? Okay. Shell, why do you look like that? But I'm just like, it's overwhelming to know that I have advocated for other families in my community. Everybody comes to Miss KK's house. I'm the babysitter. So for my children to feel like I would do something to another child based on whatever those people that you reside with for now are saying, and they know what type of person I am, regardless of what I'm labeled with. My mouth is dry. And I know I kind of like took over, and I'm sorry, Miss Sunshine, but you'll be back with us next week because you still have so much stuff, and I still have like 17 questions.
I
So,
also emailed you. I emailed you more.
I know I'm gonna look at it after this.
I
I'm
wrote a
just like,
12-page rebuttal. It's amazing that people can, say a lie and then I have to go to the ends of the earth to prove the truth.
that's what I'm saying.
I had to write a
Listen,
12-page essay today.
if I told you my original allegation was I was supposed to have called the school, my children's school, at 6 in the morning, at between 6 on or about 6 or 6:30 in the morning on February 1st of 2023, threatening to strangle my children, commit suicide because I was off my meds, allegedly. Didn't take my children until February 8th. So honestly, if I called on the 1st, allegedly, and I said I was suicidal, wouldn't my children have been there on the 8th for y'all to remove? That's food for thought. Is there anything you'd like to add, Michelle, before I close?
I completely understand because my whole thing started with 0 allegations at me.
And you went from that to TPR in 37 days. 37 days, guys. They effed her over big time.
And now it's my mission to help every mother, father out there that I possibly can.
Parent warrior to the fullest. Unbelievable. Is there anything you want to add, Miss Sunshine?
No. I'm trying to be a whistleblower, but they sent my
Yes.
whistleblower report to the respondent. So they made the decision, obviously, not to accept my whistleblower.
Well, that's all right because there's multiple whistles. They're not just one color. We blow green, blue, red, white.
It's fine. I have all the documentation. What did I do for a
Yes.
year? I just started building my freaking evidence of, showing a pattern of behavior of retaliation, obstruction, interference. I mean, all kinds of stuff. And
Yes, TPR in 37 days is
it's
insane. It is
it's just
effing insane.
ridiculous.
Yes. But like I said, guys, we will have Miss Sunshine and of course Miss Michelle back next week on our Monday maniacal session of corruption and your walk with these dirty people.
There are some good caseworkers out there.
There are, but at
I'm
this
telling
time,
you,
we're
the
not looking for them
environment.
because we're looking for other parents to tell their story.
Yeah.
We need other parents
I
to
mean,
come on here and pass the message.
I've not met or heard from any other social workers like in a similar situation with me. So
Oh,
I've
I have. I
talked to a
actually have
few.
two of them. They're really good. They're good people too, and I still speak to them because they are
so
no
I
longer
would
employed with
love,
them.
any feedback,
Right, Joe.
advice, recommendations. The Whistleblower Legal Defense Fund attorney that was looking at my case said that he's not able to take it. So that would make
Well,
like
listen.
11
For
of an
for every 5 no's, there has to be a yes. And with that being said,
I
I
hope
want
so.
to thank. One more thing you said.
I hope so.
Oh, I hope so. There's always hope. Parents, remember, I want to thank Miss Sunshine for telling her story. She didn't even get halfway, guys. So she will
I
be
didn't even get a
back
quarter.
next week.
It's okay. It's
She
a
will be back
long
next week
story.
to finish off. As always, I want to thank my very, very special possible co-host, Miss Michelle, for giving us the valuable questions and doing the research. And I am Miss K, your host. I am here every Monday on Attorney Vincent Davis's platform at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time, where parents, please pass your message. Come tell your maniacal story because innocence is worth it. Keep fighting. Grace. Good night, ladies.
Good night.
A vivid picture is encrypted in your mind as the critics get in line like they're witnessing a crime. But then you notice there's a shiver in your spine from the feelings of discontentment and bitterness combined. Heartbroken when you listen to the judges, another kid's innocence corrupted. And if you go against it, it's destructive. Consider this predicament the toughest, but we believe in a system fit for justice. Child Protective Services only pretends to save it. The one solution for this is worthy of instant praises. 30 years of experience with relentless cases. Allow me to introduce them. This is Vincent Davis defending you when they don't think a mother fits the role. Is it juvenile dependency or government control? Observe the pain in their eyes. It's time for us to realize we are the last ones left. Put your faith in